Thor: Love and Thunder is directed by Taika Waititi and stars Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman. The movie is about Thor and how he's been with the Guardians of the Galaxy and he decides to leave that group and set out on his own adventure. So he discovers that he is very lonesome and that he desires to be in a relationship of love and find happiness. So he discovers Jane Foster, which he has been in a relationship in the past movies, and they decide to bring this character back into the movie, and she ends up having the power of Thor. I will go into the spoilers section later and talk more about what happens to Jane's character, but it is one of those characters that I felt that it slowed down the movie very, very quickly. I think that the script was very different than it was in Ragnarok, so that there was some things that I really didn't like in comparison to Ragnarok. So it starts out with a lot of comedy, and it really just keeps pushing these kind of comedy that it didn't work so well for me. A lot of people in the theater, it was about 30 to 40 people that were in the theater, and a lot of the comedy jokes weren't hitting. So I think that throwing too much comedy in there was a bad idea. It should have known when to take itself seriously and when to have good comedy like Thor Ragnarok did. This one didn't really hit so well for me. I noticed that on Rotten Tomatoes it is getting a 69% critic score with around a 70 to 80 audience score. So what was wrong with this movie? Well, I just think that the pacing was off. There was a huge chunk at the beginning that felt really long. I liked the beginning where it was going with Christian Bale's character. I think Christian Bale carried the movie very well when he was actually on screen. Sadly, he wasn't on screen enough as he should have been. Very creepy and very scary. Very surprising for a PG-13 movie. His performance really showed that of a rated R movie. It was very scary. So this movie was very jumbled. I think that they were trying to throw around a lot of ideas, but I felt that the 2 hours was slow. It leaded up very good towards the beginning, and I somewhat liked where it was going. The comedy, not so much. It wasn't very funny. I maybe laughed a few times, but they felt very forced. No, I just wasn't feeling it as much as I did with the first movie. The first movie really kind of takes its time, and it doesn't force the relationship as much. But this one really forces that they were in a relationship, and now Thor needs her to be in a relationship with him for him to be happy. It was a very weak Thor, in my opinion. He wasn't as strong as a character to me like he was in Ragnarok. And yeah, guys, Christian Bale was not in the movie very much. I know it seemed like he would have been. I did think they were going to focus more on Jane Foster, which sadly they ended up doing the most part of the movie. And they took some characters that I really liked. I don't want to spoil it yet. I will talk about that later in the spoiler section. But they take these characters that I actually found likable, and they did things to them that made them unlikable. And that's just a personal preference. It's maybe not going to offend other people as much, depending on your belief system. But to me, it did push it too far to the point where the movie became unlikable. A lot of the characters I liked from the Ragnarok, it definitely ruins them, and I think that it made them annoying in ways that they shouldn't have been. So guys, this movie was definitely a letdown. I wanted it to be better than it was, and it definitely was more boring than it should have been. So sadly, guys, with a 2-hour run, you definitely feel those 2 hours, close to about 30 to 40 minutes into it. I was starting to feel it, and it was definitely getting slower, and I wasn't liking where it was going and how they were treating these iconic characters. So guys, with that, I'm going to have to give the movie a 5.5 out of 10. Christian Bale was definitely the only redeeming factor that I liked. He was by far my favorite, and by far what I wanted to see more of. Thor, not so much, sadly. They definitely didn't make his character very interesting like I liked him to be. This is most likely a movie that you can wait for it to be discounted, but not at full price, guys. I just wouldn't recommend it for that. So with that, guys, I'm going to go into the spoiler section. If you don't want to hear the spoilers, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching this far. Now you've made it to the spoiler section. About 20 minutes into it, I was questioning where the beginning title was, which there wasn't one. So Jane's character actually has cancer. The movie does end with Jane dying, which was a very hard pill to swallow, especially when they hype her character up so much. I definitely think it was odd that she all of a sudden was gifted the power of Thor, because Thor said if anything were to happen to Jane, protect her. He told the hammer that. And so that definitely ruined a lot of the suspension of disbelief. It never explained exactly why she has the power of Thor, other than the fact that he told the hammer to protect her. And so it gives her powers, which was never explained. Her and Thor, they really try to push the relationship onto you. It didn't really work so well for me. I didn't end up caring as much. That's definitely what made the movie slower. It was just too much attention spent on a relationship. And it definitely felt more like a romance movie, and it shouldn't have been so forced. It's a superhero movie. It needs to know when to take its time to be serious and when to take its time to care about the characters and actually kind of flesh them out and explain some things. Korg and the Valkyrie girl, those characters actually turn out to be homosexual. So it totals up around 6 or 7 references. It's gonna offend some people more than it will others. So the fact that Korg, one of my favorite characters from Thor Ragnarok, has been taken and turned into an homosexual character, where there was no reference to that in Thor Ragnarok. Very, very odd choice. And then the Valkyrie, she turns out to be lesbian, and she kisses a girl on the hand and makes references to her past girlfriends and actually encourages Korg's homosexuality. And it felt very forced. Hollywood has been doing that a lot lately with their movies, and they've been definitely forcing a lot of the more woke society to our fellow audience. And Christian Bale's character was very creepy. He abducts children to get revenge on what happens to his daughter. His daughter actually died when they were in the desert and they had no food and water. So he called out to his God to provide food and water to them, which he didn't. So his daughter died, ends up burying his daughter, and decides to go out on a vengeance against all gods and kill him off because they did not protect his daughter, which was definitely an interesting backstory for this character of Christian Bale. It would have been such a good motive if something were to happen and he would have changed his character to kind of understand that not all God is bad. And it would have been interesting to see that. You don't really get much of that other than the end of the movie. He wishes his daughter to be brought back to life. His wish was granted, his daughter comes back, but he's dying. So he wishes that Thor would take after his daughter, which actually is Chris Hemsworth's actual daughter. So it all comes down to an average movie. I know some people are gonna like it a little bit more, but I just felt for what it was and what it should have been, it was a letdown. And I think this was one of the biggest hype movies that I was looking forward to. I like Thor. He's not my favorite superhero, but he's definitely one that I found iconic, and I like Thor Ragnarok. So coming from this movie and seeing this new movie was a letdown. So guys, I would suggest strongly to save your money. But yeah, guys, that's just my personal opinion and my review on this movie. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Share this video with a friend and let me know your thoughts. If you've seen Thor, let me know if you were let down or if you actually liked it. So yeah, guys, I will see you in the next video, and thank you so much.